I've been complaining. I've been complaining a lot. I don't like to complain. I like to be positive. But I've been complaining a lot about Nintendo Switch Online. I've been like, I was playing Smash Brothers last night. I had a precious few moments to sit down. And even though Dragon Quest 11 is sitting there on my PS4 waiting for me, I can't play the damn thing because I don't have time. But I always have time to play Smash Brothers. That's one of the great things about games like that is because a match only takes a few minutes. You can hop in and hop out real quick. But I was playing last night, and sure enough, I ran into a lag fest. I probably played 3 matches, and one of those was a lag fest. Now, I won't say that's normal for me. Most of the time, I usually get pretty good experience when I'm using Nintendo Switch Online, but from time to time, I get a really bad experience, and that's very frustrating to me. And I've been complaining about Nintendo Switch Online and how I don't think that it's really worth it. But then I think last episode I was talking about how much or like the rumor that the Super Nintendo stuff was coming to Nintendo Switch Online, which is very, very exciting for me. And I thought about, you know, back in the era of the Wii U and even the Wii, I had said to myself, I would pay money for a subscription to these old games. I don't want to buy Zelda over and over and over, but I don't mind just subscribing to something and getting all of them. And that's kind of what Nintendo's doing now. And they're doing it just with Nintendo Entertainment System games instead of Super Nintendo Entertainment System games. And I think that that's a problem. But, last week there's those rumors that the Super Nintendo stuff is coming. So things were looking up. Um, and I feel like I've been a little unfair to Nintendo Switch Online. And it's because I would have no problem paying for the NES service and the Super Nintendo service together as like a thing on their own, even if they weren't attached to Nintendo Switch Online. Like, I would have no problem with that. Add in GameCube and N64 stuff, and you've got a hit on your hands. A lot of people would subscribe to that. But in fact, I think the first episode of this podcast, I could be wrong. It could have been a different podcast. It could have been like the first episode. I think I talked about how Nintendo needed to have a subscription service so that we can play their old games. You guys can go back and check if you want. But I feel like the online service leaves something wanting. And it makes me wish that Nintendo would just charge more and give more. Because what we're getting, I feel like is not enough. You add in the Super Nintendo stuff, and I'm pretty happy with that, but I still think the online stuff is weak. Like, Nintendo's online stuff is weak. And I think that maybe Nintendo might be getting the point. Because a lot of people have been complaining about this. This story comes to us from Go Nintendo. It says here that Nintendo is looking to hire somebody to take their Switch online service and features to the next level. Here's what it says. We are looking for an experienced manager who can lead and drive Nintendo's online subscription service. This is an opportunity for the successful candidate to help grow an emerging part of Nintendo's core business and lead a cross-functional team of stakeholders across the organization to align on priorities and execute with excellence. This role will be responsible for managing the Nintendo Switch Online and SO operations and drive the team priorities, execution, and business objectives. So this is pretty big news that they're hiring somebody for this. I think maybe somebody stepped down, I don't know, but maybe they are creating this position because they realize that what they're offering, while okay, I mean, do you really want to be okay? Okay is mediocre. Nintendo Switch Online is mediocre, in my opinion, and it could be so much better. And yes, I understand that Nintendo has made the decision that we're going to be using our phones to communicate, which many of us, myself included, think is foolish. I think at best this should be an option. You know, I could use this as an optional thing, or I could use it on my Switch. I don't foresee that changing. I think that Nintendo will stick with that for reasons that I talked about before, like the opportunity for them to use that as a device to push advertisements to you to say, hey, we've got this new game out. In fact, I can't believe that it hasn't happened yet. When you open up that app on your Nintendo or on your phone, every time I open it, I expect there to be an ad there. And every time I open it, nothing. Just Splatoon 2 sitting there all by its lonesome, and then a button for voice chat, which nobody ever uses because we all use Discord instead. I expect that to stay pretty much the same as far as us having to use that for voice chat. I've come to terms with that, and I'm okay with it. I would prefer if that weren't the case, but that's obviously not going to change anytime soon. What I want to see is, for crying out loud, Nintendo, stop pretending that you're the only person or company making video games. Look at what the other people are doing and copy them. It's not hard. It's a super easy strategy. Clearly it works because Xbox is making money hand over fist with Xbox Live. Sony is making piles of money with PSN. Nintendo could be making all that money too with Nintendo Switch Online. And I know that there's people out there that think $20 is too much, but if the price were $60 a year and they offered the same things that Nintendo or that PlayStation and Microsoft offer, then I think a lot of people would probably get on board. And I think a lot of people would really appreciate it too. So hopefully this leads to something, but business moves like a giant ship, really, really slow. Like you cannot turn these ships real fast. So even if somebody were hired tomorrow, and by the way, Nintendo, feel free to hire me to do it. I guarantee I can make it successful for you. Okay. These ships turn slow. So even if somebody were hired tomorrow, don't expect to see changes anytime soon. It's going to be a while. Now, does that mean that we're not going to be seeing Super Nintendo stuff anytime soon? No. But I don't expect to see like price differentials or things like that anytime soon. I don't expect them to start offering us servers like they should be. I would love to have a community server on Smash so that anytime I logged in, people from the Nerd Nest would be in there fighting each other, and we could say, all right, let's all break off into little different groups and fight each other and have a tournament. Wouldn't that be awesome? But anyway, I think that this is good news, but don't expect the world overnight.